Hi, welcome back. I'm Ann Scottlin. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Scottlin Talks, where we're talking about the power of joy, how to find less stress and more success. And if you aren't already, please follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Ann Scottlin. And you can find out more about me on my website, www.annscottlin.com. Today, I am just thrilled to have a special guest on our show. Her name is Lynda Sunshine West. I just love your name. Welcome, Lynda.
Thank you so much for having me. And, it's funny, people ask me is my real name, Liz Sunshine, and it isn't. I wasn't born with that name. It was given to me just a couple years ago by people randomly. And I was like, I guess I should go ahead and just change my Facebook name because Facebook, is the key to everything. And so, I just I'll just change my Facebook name to Lynda Sunshine. And it felt really weird the first time because I was thinking that people would think that I thought I was sunshine, but I got used to it. So it's all good. I love it.
I love it. You know what? I say own it. Life is too short, right? I think we should all do stuff I think we should all have a new extra name that really speaks to our personality, right? And just actually says something positive about us for other people to understand.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful. Something positive. That's the key, right?
Yeah, the positive. Anyway, I love it. I love it that you did that. Well, welcome so much to my show. You are known for being the queen of collaboration. You are big supporter of other people, of their businesses, and you're the founder of Women Action Takers. Tell me a little bit more about Women Action Takers, just so my audience knows what that is.
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting journey for me. I'll just share a quick short of my story. I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household, and that caused me to have a lot of fears and to become a people pleaser. So I lived all of my life, the first 51 years of my life, trying to please other people, scared to do things. And it was about 2 weeks before my mom passed away. She said something to me that really kind of she said it kind of, I heard it, and then it didn't really implement until, a couple years later. But she said, Lynda, I've lived my life with so many regrets. Go out there and live the rest of your life with no regrets. And again, I heard her, but I didn't implement because I didn't really know, what does that mean? What are my regrets? Do I have any regrets? How do I live my, so I started asking myself these questions. And so about just a couple years ago, I was talking to one of my mentors, and we were talking about Think and Grow Rich, the book by Napoleon Hill. It's known as the Entrepreneur's Bible. And we were talking about people and how a lot of times we learn and learn and learn, but we don't implement. And it's in our implementation, our taking the action is what makes things happen. And I started thinking that, what, that's so true. I've been taking so much action these last couple of years since I met my mentor. I worked with a life coach in 2014, and that's what led up to me facing a fear every single day in 2015, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it was all that action that I took that year. I faced a fear every single day for 365 days in a row.
Wow, that's incredible.
That is massive action, right? My life completely flipped around in that 1 year because I took action every day. And I realized that I want to surround myself with women who are taking action. So I'll just create Women Action Takers and see what happens. It's been awesome.
That is just such a beautiful story. I love that you came from your own personal journey and your own personal quest to take action, to learn how to overcome fear, and then how can you bring that to other people and share it? And what drove you to just want to share it?
Well, I know that like you and I were talking just earlier, on my podcast, Women Action Takers podcast. So listen into that episode, of course, where I interview Anne. But, we were talking about, taking action and joy and fear. And we were talking also about, what makes somebody want to actually do this, like for a business or to help other people. Well, I'm a very giving person. I've always been a giving person. Even though I had a lot of fears and I was a people pleaser, well, especially as a people pleaser, I was always saying yes to everybody, right? But very, very giving person and have always been training and teaching people. Since I was 16, I was always the trainer in every job I had. So when you're training people, you're constantly giving knowledge, right? And so I was doing this just as a natural thing for me. And when it came to, like women action takers and wanting to help other people, I just found myself wanting to teach them what I had learned throughout those years. And it just kind of morphed into it. And it's so exciting to see the look on someone's face when you say something and they're like, wow, I never thought of it that way. So I just love that. I get so much joy from doing that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I'm going to have to ask you now because I can't wait any longer. I have to hear about the one fear a day. That is just, I've never heard anyone say that before, and I'm dealing with that for years. So please tell us your story and what was that about, and why did you decide it was so critical for you to kind of confront those fears? Because that's a lot of fears.
Yeah, it was. It was. I still have fears, by the way, because I'm a human being. In 2014, I was driving to work one day. I was working for a judge in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I was a secretary. And so for my line of work, that was like, I made it. That was the penultimate. Working for this judge. He was the number two judge in the entire western part of the country. And so I was working for this guy and I hated it. Oh my God, it was so boring. It was just so boring. So I was driving to work one day after I think I only worked for him for like 13 months. And is this all there is to life? Is this what life is all about? I don't understand it. This doesn't make any sense to me. Why is this planet here? Why am I here? And I was literally asking myself these questions out loud as I was driving, angry in traffic.
Oh,
And
whoops.
yeah, exactly. I was like, I didn't want to kill myself or anything, but I was just not enjoying my life. And I've been with my husband for now, it's been 32 years. He's amazing, absolutely amazing person. But I just wasn't fulfilled. I didn't have any joy in my life, because I didn't have love for myself and I didn't know who I was. So as I was driving to work, I got to work and I got on Facebook and I looked inside of a Facebook group, and this one woman, I didn't know her, she put a post in there and said, I was a life coach. I'm a life coach. I took some time off. I'm getting back into it. I'm looking for 5 women who want to change their life. And I was like, this woman's talking to me. So I raised my hand. I'm in. I'm totally in. And it was $2,500 for 10 sessions, right? So I worked with her for those 10 sessions. And it was the end of 2014,
Wow.
that like November, when I finished working with her. And what happened? This was really interesting. This is what was the catalyst to the year of fears. So I worked with her from August to November of 2014, every single week. I was changing every single week because she gave me these assignments and I did them. I took action on every single thing she recommended I do. And it was completely changing my life. I was becoming this new person, blossoming. I was learning who I was, learning to forgive my parents for things that I was blaming them for all those decades before. By the way, I was 51 years old when I hired her. So December, I'm by myself. I don't have a life coach. And I found myself not really getting depressed, but missing all that action, missing all those homework assignments. But I didn't want to hire her again. I was like, that was $2,500. I didn't want to hire her again. So I said, you know what? I got a lot of fears. I'm going to face a fear every single day this year in January 1st. And I made that decision. And it's interesting because they say decision is when an incision happens, right? When we make a decision to do something, that's when we create an incision to cut off the other stuff. And so I made that decision to move forward by facing a fear every day because I knew I had a lot of fears. And every single morning I'd wake up and I'd ask myself, what scares me? And then I would lay in bed and I would wait until that answer came. So, whatever was the very first fear was the fear that I committed myself to facing that day. And I did every single day. I faced a fear of some sort.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that though. So what am I afraid of? Even the first thing you woke up, that was the what question you were asking. Because
Yeah.
it's incredible, because I think a lot of us don't realize how afraid we are first thing in the morning when we wake up every day. It doesn't even occur to us to realize that that's influencing our attitudes, our relationships, our work, our happiness, our joy all day, because we haven't confronted it on the front end.
Yeah, and I don't know why I decided to do it first thing in the morning, probably because I'd forget if I waited too late, you know? And so it was just like that became my routine to do that. And it was interesting because none of the fears were jumping out of planes or eating bugs, or like it's not like Fear Factor, nothing like that. My fears were so deep rooted in judgment, and I didn't know it until I got like 6 months down the road. I faced like a half a year of fears, and I started looking like, what is the common theme between most of my fears? And most of them were the fear of judgment, was walking up to a stranger to just say hi. Like I wouldn't even wave at people that I didn't know because I was too scared they might shoot me. I mean, literally, I had these thoughts in my head, back in the day.
Mhm.
And, going to a networking event and walking up to somebody and starting a conversation, doing a video terrified me. Like, doing, putting my words out there on paper, doing a post. I would just agonize over every single post I would do because like, did I spell it all right? Did it make sense? Are people going to judge me? You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yes, I know what you mean.
I just let those fears just create my life.
Mhm.
And then what I did by facing a fear every day, oh my gosh, I gained so much confidence. I gained so many different like the people that I'm around now, that I hang out with now, are not people I ever would have before because I would have been too scared to.
Sure.
So it's amazing what'll happen when you stick out your neck and face a fear every single day.
For sure. So I want to ask you about that. So how would you face that fear? So let's say you wake up and you say, I'm terrified of making eye contact with people on the street. So then
Yeah,
how
that
would
that's a
you, so you've spoken it, let's say, you say this is a reality. I realize this is a fear. And then what?
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that because my fears were very specific. So, for example, I mean, this is my favorite one just because of it's like, why did this one come up? But the fear was to talk to a stranger in Starbucks. It wasn't talk to a stranger somewhere. It was in Starbucks. So
A very specific one.
yeah, they were all like that. They were all like very like I was scheduled to go to a networking event that day, and sometimes I would drive to a networking event and I would sit in my car, get on Facebook, and I'd look at the clock and I'd go, "Oh, the event's over. I'll just go home." And I would never go inside. That's how scared I was. But so the Starbucks one, I love this one because it really was extremely specific, like about a Starbucks, talk to a single straight, like a solo stranger. I'm much better in groups than I am with like one-on-one. So I went to Starbucks and I ordered my hot chocolate, and I stood there and I waited and waited and waited for somebody to come in by themselves because it had to be a single person, and everybody else was kind of like matched up, two people to each other at the tables.
As they
And
do.
so yeah, exactly. So there was this one guy and I was like, oh good, my victim. It's like, here's my first victim of today, my victim. And so he walked in, ordered his coffee, and then he went and sat down. So I walked right over to him and I said, "Excuse me, sir. I'm facing a fear every single day this year, and my fear today is to talk to a stranger in Starbucks. Are you okay if I sit down with you and have a conversation?" He's like, yeah, sure, why not?" He's like, "Who is this weird lady?" And so I sat down. We had like a 5-minute conversation. I thanked him for his time. I got up and I walked out of Starbucks, and I swear I almost threw up. I was so like, oh my God, I can't believe I just talked to a stranger.
That's
But I did it and I lived to tell about it.
Yes, yes, I love it though, because so many of our fears, even if we know what they are, even if we have been able to identify them, we, we don't know the worst case scenario. We imagine the worst case scenario, but we don't always know, like, what would it be like if I actually tried it? A lot of people won't say, well, I'm too scared of this or that or the other thing. But what if I actually tried it? What it would be as bad as I actually think it would? And I talk about that a lot with my clients, is that so much of our perspective, I say perspective is 50% reality and 50% fantasy, because our perspective is what we think we see, or where we, what we feel like the situation is. But for example, the fantasy part is, how is this person going to respond to me, and why I'm deciding not to talk to them. That's the fantasy. That's the imagination saying, oh, catastrophic thinking. Oh, something terrible would happen. It's like, well, what would happen actually? Like, what's the worst case scenario? I'm in a public place. They're probably not going to attack me. Like, or even then, what's the very worst case scenario? And then, what are my chances if I just go and do it and see what would happen and start like taming that fear?
Yeah. And it's interesting because for me, what's happened, because of that situation is I've turned that, like, I now recognize quickly that I'm having a fearful moment, and I'll ask myself, what's causing this fear? Is it judgment? Okay, cool. That's awesome, because I can move through that. I'll share just like a really quick story. Part of that time, my dog's barking, so if you can hear him, he's just excited. He's full of joy. you know. So I was attending an event, and at that time I was interviewing stars on the red carpet. So I was super excited that I had this opportunity to interview stars on the red carpet. And I attended this event, and hold on one sec.
I can't hear him for what it's worth.
Oh, you can't hear him? Okay.
No. So I think your mic is doing great wonders for you.
You have a great mic. Okay, good. That's good to know. So I was attending this event, and when I got there, it was about 1:00, and everybody was at lunch except for Jack Canfield, one of the co-authors for Chicken Soup for the Soul. And he was in this huge room. Like, there had been 400 people, and it was just him and 3 other people. He was having a conversation with them. So I looked at that and I was like, oh, there's Jack Canfield. Awesome. I'm going to get a picture with him. I was so excited. Like, I was just going to make it happen. Right. And then what happened, something that I didn't anticipate at all, but they were finishing with the conversation, and the 3 people turned around the opposite way to walk out the back door. And Jack just happened to turn around, facing towards me, walking directly towards me, because I was near the exit, walking towards me. And he said out loud, I'm hungry. I'm going to go get lunch. And I grabbed him by the arm and I said, Jack, I'm taking you to lunch. Where do you want to go? And it was so awesome, because if I hadn't broken through those fears every day, I would never have done that. The old Lynda would have been like, oh, he's hungry. I better leave him alone. Maybe I'll catch him later. And so what I came up with was, from that one encounter right there, is that when we see an opportunity, we need to seize that opportunity. So see it, then seize it, right? I just think that's so important, because oftentimes we'll let opportunity slip us by, and then we have, like my mom said, regrets. So I'm living my life with no regrets. I interviewed Wesley Snipes on the red carpet. That should not have happened, but I made it happen. I made it happen because he walked right past me, and I just grabbed his arm and I brought him back. I said, it's my turn. He's like, okay. He doesn't care who interviews him, So it was just amazing how I'm not a brave person, but I'm a person who now recognizes fear, and I just don't let it stop me anymore. That's the only difference.
Yeah, no, that makes all the difference. It's you're developing skill and wisdom around it, instead of just being kept stuck in the corner behind it. You're like, okay, so it still might give you a butterfly in your stomach once in a while, I'm guessing.
That's for sure.
Like, okay, I have a butterfly in my stomach. Okay, I know what that is. I'm in a safe place, and I have nothing to lose, and I'm being professional, and why the heck not? Right?
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because what happened also is I realized that when my fear was strong, it's because my faith was weakened.
Mm.
And so I came up with my own acronym for fear, and that is that faith erases anxious reactions. Because
Ah,
when your faith is strong, your fear is weak. You can't have faith and fear at the same time to
mm.
be strong, right? So one is stronger than the other. So when I'm in full, like if I'm feeling really scared and anxious, I'll ask myself, Linda, how strong is your faith right now?
Yeah.
And I
And what
just
is
check in.
that's fantastic. And what does that mean for you? Like, is this for you, is that faith in yourself, faith that you've done the work, faith in trusting your gut? What does that look like for you? Faith in that way.
That's A, B, C, D, all of the above.
Woo! Way to go. Yeah, that's amazing. No, I so believe that too. I think that's and you and I have talked in the past a little about, loving ourselves, and
Yeah.
part of learning to love ourselves is learning to trust ourselves. Kind
Yeah.
of like trusting your instinct, trusting your gut, trusting when it's okay to jump, to take the jump, to go for it, to, regardless of all those little voices that we may have had in our head. A lot of them are voices that we took from other people growing up, like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you'll never be this, you'll never have that, and we believe them. And then even when those people are often no longer in our life, at least not on a daily basis, we just take on the exact same dialogue that we were fed and we make it our own. This is one of the human dysfunctions. Is we take this belief, we've made it our own. We take the poison and we're like, I will continue to dose myself daily with this same poison, not realizing that we don't have to, And there's just so much more potential
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, really, it's so true. I was with my ex-husband, my first husband, for only 2 years, and
Mm.
the amount of damage that was done in that 2-year period of time stuck with me for 30 years to come.
Yeah.
You know, like I married him when I was 19. I left him when I was 21. I had two babies. I had a
Mm.
14-month-old and a 4-week old, and I literally walked out because I didn't have a car. I just like I put a diaper bag over one shoulder, a purse over one shoulder, and a baby in a carry case and a baby on my hip, and I walked out. I was like, I'm not going to live my mom's life because my mom, lived in that abusive, very abusive situation.
Mhm.
And my ex-husband on a daily basis would make sure I knew how stupid and ignorant I was. You're so stupid. You're so ignorant. People are only nice to you because they feel sorry for you. Like this was a record I heard every single day for 2 years in a row. But as you said, the record played every single day for 30 more years to come. And even though my current husband is absolutely amazing, is always complimentary, always telling me how amazing and brilliant I am, that record was playing so deep rooted into my core beliefs about myself that his things that he was saying, I couldn't hear them
Yeah.
until I started to believe in myself. And that's what my life coach helped me to do, is to unlock that I am brilliant.
Mhm.
I am a pioneer. I am brave. Like all these things, these affirmations, like if you don't believe them, do they really do anything for you? I don't know, but I do know that I believe mine now.
Mhm. Oh, that's so amazing and so motivating, and I hope so encouraging to everyone who's listening because, and like you said, no matter how young you are, no matter how old you are, you can escape that. You can escape those patterns. And I think for me and with the clients I've worked with, it's so much about, it starts with acknowledging it, right? It's hearing the voice and then being, wait, that's not mine, for starters. That's not my gut telling me how to make a wise choice in this moment. That is so and so's voice that I believed about me, a mother, a father, a significant other, a friend, a teacher, a person in authority who told me who I was and what I was. It's like that. First of all, that's not my voice. Why would I say that to myself? Why would I continue to believe? Was that a credible person? Should I trust? Does their behavior generate a reason for me to trust what they said? Do I think other people should have trust what they said when they were abusing other people? Like, what is it? Like, we see it in other people, but it's so hard to see it in ourselves and turn it off. But it's that awareness at first, because then you can say, because these voices, I have them too. They will continue to pop up because I call it, it's like a watermark of our past. It's just there. It's going to surface. You're going to notice it sometimes, but it's just noticing it and noticing what it is instead of letting it control your life. Like, oh, there that goes again. Well, thank goodness that's not my voice anymore, because my voice is in a much more powerful and place where I'm taking action, where I can make a difference, where I'm having a more joyful life, where I'm bringing hope and empowerment to other people. And that little piece I just want to follow up with, to me, that's motivating. Maybe not to everyone, but sometimes we're better at taking care of others than taking care of ourselves. And I would say that for a lot of women and a lot of people in general, men and women, if you are a nurturer, if you do like supporting it, helping other people, that comes naturally sometimes. But doing the same for ourselves is so much harder. Taking that time to just be like, okay, I'm going to take care of you first. And that will enable me to help others. And I've had to use that voice to convince myself to take care of myself, and there's people counting on you. There's people that need you. You have your clients, your friends, your family. Why would you want to bring anything less than your best self to them? Therefore, please take care of you, even if you're not at that point yet. And I think hopefully we will all at some point be there, where you can say, like, I'm doing this because I deserve it. I own it 100%, no problems. If nothing else, you can start by saying, but I'm going to make this choice so that I am an instrument that's in tune to give back, which you're totally done with your life and your business and your family, which I think is just beautiful.
Yeah, it really is, to be there. And I think earlier you were talking about when I was interviewing you on the Women Action Takers podcast, ding, ding. When I was interviewing you over there, we were talking about how, like our childhood, it gets ingrained, the beliefs that we have, that come from other people, talking about whether it's, religious beliefs or vaccination beliefs, like there's, all this fighting going on right now about the COVID vaccine and stuff like that. But, like our beliefs are what we've experienced and what we know to be true to ourselves, and through any research we have or have not done. It's really interesting. I wanted to share something, because as you were talking about, the beliefs, is that one thing I think is really interesting. And I like to look at human behavior now that I understand a little bit more about it, through myself, and, facing those fears and everything, and realizing that, for me, at least, judgment was a huge fear of mine. And it's actually the number one fear. They say that more people are scared of speaking on stage than they are of dying. The truth of the matter is, more people are scared of what people are going to think about them, speaking on stage.
Yes.
It's the judgment. It's not the speaking on stage at all. It's the judgment on stage. So anyway, there's a lot of times I'll see, people will post in like a Facebook group, and they'll say, hey, I'm thinking of, creating this logo. And they'll say, which one do you like best? Number 1, 2, or 3? And then they'll get responses, some, maybe like 30% 1, 30% 2, 30% 3. Yeah. And then they end up deciding on the one that they like the best anyway, right? It's like, I think what we're doing is we're asking for validation. Like, I love number 2. If I put it out there and see, does everybody else like number 2? Then I can validate my own thoughts. But then we end up doing what we want to do anyway. So I just find I don't know why I brought that up, but it was just like, I find it an interesting thing that people do.
The need for validation and all the ways that we do that. I years ago, I had an acting teacher who, I grew up, once I was in the professional world, I came kind of the family I came from and the environment I was in, you kind of dress up, you dress professionally, you put your face on, whatever you want to call that. That's kind of my MO. And I had an acting teacher really take me to task on that. It's like, he's like, you kind of come in and you're being authentic in your character, but I'm just saying you're still hiding. You're still not fully letting us, and this is a safe space with other actors and your peers and a teacher, right? Really see you. It's not like he's like, take your makeup off. Like, it was more like, I can just tell that you're still kind of put together, not just on the outside, but on the inside. You're not open. You really care about what people think. You're concerned about their judgment. You're concerned, even if they don't even talk to you, somehow it still really matters to you what their takeaway is about you. And I'm like, I was so mad because he was right.
Right, exactly.
So I was so mad for like a month at him. I'm like, I can't believe you said that. And he's like, someday, he's a very insightful person. He says, someday, you're going to be in a place where you can kind of let some of that go sometimes and still feel confident. And I never forgot it, mostly because it irritated me so much. But it was really true, and for me years ago, that was like, just again, not everyone's this way at all, but mine was like, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm not even going to put lipstick on, like I'm just going to be. And if I'm wearing pajama bottoms, I'm just, maybe that's still pushing the envelope for me, but it was, I just didn't realize how much stress and time and effort went into keeping up appearances for who exactly?
Yeah.
Like the judgments of people I don't even know, which like stage fright or, fear of speaking, again, being more about, judgments of people you don't even know. And why do we believe that is so important? And and that every day we have that opportunity to face a fear, even if it's a simple one, like, do something out of character because you can. Who says you have to be, all put together type? Who says you have to be nice? For those of us who grew up trained to be nice, who says you have to be nice all the time when you're actually having a very different feeling and you need to express it? I'm not encouraging people to go around be raging in anger. And if you have an anger management problem, then this isn't the one to practice. But if you have the curse of being too nice, then you need to learn to express yourself. Don't be so worried about what other people think. Be true to you first. And when I went through my divorce after my first marriage, I went and got a ring made with the phrase from Shakespeare that says, "To thine own self be true." And I took off my wedding ring and I put that one on. "To thine own self be true." And for me, it was just like this little daily reminder every day when I put it on, when I looked down, when I saw it, when I played with it. It was like, this is a new chapter in my life. And I am going to stop living just for everyone else. I'm going to actually start living for me to make me a whole and fulfilled person. So then I can actually support people in the way that counts, instead of just stroking their ego or trying to fit some cookie cutter they've been trying to force me in. Or no, it's okay to be me. I'm me. I was created me, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to be true to myself. And then I can be more authentic with others, which truly was what worked and was what brought me a lot of joy. So I just wanted to mention too, about confronting all these fears. You have a book about it, right? It's called The Year of Fears, A Year of Fears.
The year of fears.
What year of fears, guys? The Year of Fears. And where can we get your book?
You can go to theyearoffears.com, and it's also on Amazon.
Fantastic. Theyearoffears.com. And is it mostly a narrative, a story, or what do we get to look forward to?
It's the 7 most important lessons I learned during that year. And so it's my stories. Each chapter is a different story of, whatever the topic was that I learned. Like whatever that topic was that I learned, there's stories around it. Yeah. Fantastic. I love telling stories.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, I love stories. Any kind of stories. I love storytelling. I love reading stories. In fact, there's one thing I promised myself I would ask you today, which was because I saw in something that you posted somewhere about a story from your past, which is about when you ran away when you were 5.
Oh, yeah.
I have to know, for a week? What?
Yeah. Yeah, I ran away when I was 5 and I was gone for a whole week. And it's interesting because I had this amazing opportunity to sit with a gentleman by the name of Les Brown that, I think a lot of people know who he is, an international motivational speaker. And I was sitting with him as just he and he was asking me my story. One thing I really loved about sitting with him is that he really paid attention to me. He helped me to see how simple it is to make somebody feel special. So that's like, just to start with that. But I was sitting with him and then came up to I ran away when I was 5 and was gone an entire week. And he asked me a question that nobody else has ever asked me, because usually they ask, where did you go?
Right.
That's the question. But he asked me, what made you run away that day? And I had never really thought about what made me run away that day. But what it was is that I I drew a line in the sand and I said, I'm not going to live this life. At 5 years old, I'm not doing this.
Mhm.
But I ran away. I was just gone to the neighbor's house, but I was gone for a week. And if you imagine you're 5 years old, you run away because my dad was extremely volatile. It was a abusive alcoholic household, dad screaming, and my mom never fought back. My mom was an enabler. And so at 5 years old, I ran away and nobody came to get me.
Mm.
So what ended up happening in my mind is what I believed to be true was solidified, whether it was true or not. It was what I believed to be true. They didn't love me. They didn't come to get me. They don't want me around.
Mm.
A whole week I was gone. Now, my mom knew where I was, but I didn't know my mom knew where I was.
Right.
So after a week, she called the neighbor and said, you can go ahead and send Lynda home. She's been gone long enough. And I came home, and that is when that brave little girl who ran away at 5 turned into this terrified little girl who would not experience life, very much at all from that point until I was 51 years old. But it was that beauty of remembering. Like, I have a friend who's like, you're just remembering who you used to be. You're remembering how brave you were. And I'm stepping back into that bravery,
Mm.
from who I used to be.
Mm.
But, it's so many things, like at such a young age, we're so impressionable. And I hear that the first 7 years of our life are the most impressionable years of our lives. And man, at 7 years old, 5 years old, for me, it really locked in tight. And I felt all the way until my parents passed away that they didn't love me. They never said I love you, and they never really did much hugging and stuff.
Mm.
So it was like I always felt distant, like I never had a relationship with my parents.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. But I gained a relationship with them after they passed away because I started to, believe in myself, love myself, and have forgiveness for others, and also have forgiveness for myself for not seeing them for who they really were.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so beautiful. So beautiful. And even would love to talk about that some other time because also done some work on, you know, family members that have passed and finding connection, finding forgiveness, finding wholeness, finding strength from the positive things that I always just kind of swept under the rug, which is incredible, beautiful story. Well, I
Yeah.
send you a virtual hug right now.
Thank
And
you.
I love you. I think
I
you're
love you
amazing.
too.
And I'm just so appreciative of you sharing all this with me today. You got me all emotional. And I just think it's so important that we share these things, that we share the fears, that we talk about them so that in this social media crazed world where everyone's posting the perfect life, that's a whole bunch of BS, if you don't pardon my French, uh, we need to be honest because people feel more and more isolated because they think they're the only one who's going through things like this. They think, well, I'm the only one who surely must this or that, or be afraid of this or that, or no one would ever, no one would ever talk to me because I'm this and that. And we never talk about our weaknesses really anymore. We talk about, oh, my life is perfect and you all should be like me. And, I want what you have and you want what I have. And it's not helpful, but being
No.
honest is so helpful. Sharing our stories is so helpful. And it fits so much in with, what my audience is used to hearing me talk about, which is joy, and how we always talk about how fear is that antithesis of joy, how fear, it's very difficult to experience full joyfulness and be very fearful at the same time. I'm not saying there's moments when those nuances might or not overlap, but in general, it's almost impossible to be full of joy and terrified at the same time. And and so when we start to realize that, when we start to naming our fears like you've done, identifying them, facing them, confronting them, working through them to create space for joy, which is something else I talk about, which is we all feel like we don't have this joy that we want, that we, our lives aren't joyful enough, that we don't enjoy moments of joy enough. And well, are you creating space for it to even happen? Are you so stiff from fear and so clogged up with negativity that is there even room for joy? So I say you have to declutter the shelves of the mind a bit. And work some of that fear out so we can start learning how to let joy in, which is just, I think, such a perfect complement to what you shared today is, how do you get to that space and how do you make that happen? So thank you. It has been so wonderful having you share. Everybody, please check out her book, The Year of Fears. Also her website, which is womenactiontakers.com. Can't think of a better website title than womenactiontakers.com. Big fan. And Lynda and I are both on Clubhouse, so please feel free to check us out there. Come network with us. Let's see how we can help support you in your growth, personally, professionally, whatever you're looking for. How can we help empower and encourage you to face your fears and to find your joy? Lynda, it's been such a blessing to have you today. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. And I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thanks, Anne. I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed it.
I love it. That's the first time someone has said that to me. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here today. Again, you can find out more on my website, annscottlin.com. You can also find out more about Lynda in the notes in case you missed that or you need to write it down, her website and her book. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @AnnScottlin. And please, if you would, like and subscribe to help keep this content coming. I wish for you a joyful week. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.